Welcome to C2S TV, the Circle to Success TV channel that brings you insightful interviews with business leaders tackling current challenges with advice and top tips from experts in their field. And we're delighted to welcome here with us today Neil Madle, the area manager for the Cotswold Thames Valley for CityFibre. So Neil, it's really nice to have you on with us today. And I was just looking at some of the stats from CityFibre in terms of the rollout. And at the moment, I think there is something like 2.5 million UK homes and premises that are connected up on the system, and you're on target for reaching your 8 million homes by 2025. Before we start looking at some of the sort of the regional impacts that's having, do you want to just give us a little bit more information around sort of CityFibre and your sort of remit around the country?
Yeah, sure. I mean, CityFibre are probably the largest of what's called the altnets, so the alternative networks, if you like, to Openreach and Virgin. And we've grown very rapidly. And we have this program, as you mentioned, to roll out across the country to multiple locations. And we're investing 4 billion of private money to do that. So this is really trying to support government targets for full fibre rollout. As you may know, Suzanne, full fibre is not doing pretty well in the UK. It's compared to other countries. We really are well behind a lot of the other parts of Europe and Asia and the US when it comes to full fibre rollout. So we are trying to make a difference there, increase the number of people in the country that can get access to full fibre, because really full fibre is the way that data is going to be transmitted now and in the future.
That doesn't seem very good, does it, Neil, in terms of not being behind the curve when you look at the digital economy and what we need to do. So why would that be? Is it just inertia initially?
Yeah, to a certain extent, I think, yeah, it has been an incumbent who has tended to put a lot of focus on the copper network that it inherited. So I think that you've needed this competition to kind of drive Openreach and to drive Virgin and other companies to take full fibre seriously. So with the kind of pressure that this is bringing, you're seeing everybody now focusing on full fibre. So it's a really positive environment now. There's a lot of investment in this, and CityFibre is playing its part.
Right. Okay. And in terms of what we might see regionally, in terms of your coverage, your Cotswolds and the Thames Valley, which is quite a large region to cover. And I suppose from our point of view, we're talking about in the Cotswold, Gloucester and Cheltenham. And I know we've got Bath and Swindon are already also CityFibre areas as well. So what does that mean for Cheltenham and Gloucester in terms of the rollout?
Well, we have looked at locations across the country that we think could benefit from having our presence there, that people don't have a good access to full fibre. The Openreach network or the Virgin network is not sufficient. So we've looked at it very carefully, and we've selected cities and locations we think can benefit from us doing these citywide rollouts. And that's what CityFibre do. We draw a circle around a location and we try to connect every home and business in that location, rather than just cherry picking various parts of locations piecemeal as others have done. So this is a more kind of holistic, total approach. Cheltenham and Gloucester started about 18 months ago, 2 years ago. We're working our way through these locations, and we make areas of the town or the city live as we finish them. And then at that point, residents in those areas can order from up to 10 ISPs that are on these networks.
Right. I was going to ask you about that. So you've got lots of internet service providers who then connect to your infrastructure.
Exactly, yes. We have multiple ISPs on our networks. In Cheltenham and Gloucester, as I say, there are 10 different people, anybody from TalkTalk to Vodafone to a number of smaller ISPs, all offering really, very competitive packages for full fibre. So full fibre enables you up to a gigabit of 1,000 meg. So it's going to be a lot more capability than most people currently have. You don't have to take that. You can have packages up to that, but basically it's making much faster and more reliable broadband available for homes and businesses via a number of ISPs, and that competition drives lower prices, it drives social tariffs, it drives other initiatives to get as many people connected to much better broadband as possible.
And have you seen a bigger take up of that since, as we've come into the pandemic, and obviously more people working at home, and then we've now got hybrid working with people still, and a lot of organisations working from home. Has that speeded up the
Absolutely.
take up?
Yeah, it has. It has. I mean, we are seeing more and more people working from home, realizing during the pandemic, realizing the benefits that come from having better broadband. There are a lot of people struggling with just a few meg even, which is really not suitable for a single person in a home, let alone multiple family members all trying to do different things on a network. So I think that you're seeing a much greater demand now, and it's really just a matter of all the providers, infrastructure providers, making sure that people can access what full fibre can bring. It really is the way that data should be transmitted. I'm not saying that everybody needs 500 meg or a gigabit. That's a lot of bandwidth for a property, but then as you have multiple people with homes with multiple people in them, all drawing down data demands with smart devices in homes as well, all drawing on data. You're going to find that pretty soon everybody's going to be needing more and more bandwidth. So I think that's we're kind of future proofing these locations for decades to come, because although it's up to a gigabit at the moment, there's capability on fibre to go much higher than that if it's needed in the future.
And I think that's probably where I think the crunch point came, and the bottleneck, wasn't it, when everybody had to be at home all at the same time, and you had, you're doing schoolwork, university work, and work.
Yeah.
The demand on the technology and the connections must have been huge, and I think that's probably what brought it home to people, that what they had actually wasn't adequate for what they needed to do all of those things.
Absolutely, and during the lockdown as well, we were designated as as critical infrastructure, so our teams were able to carry on working to provide this asset for people in towns and cities across the country, including Cheltenham and Gloucester.
So see, you've got about 60 or 70 cities around at the moment, and the target is around about 208 or 285, I saw. So how are you moving towards that now?
Well, that's 285 locations across the country, and some of those are fairly small. We tend to be because of the name is a clue. We tend to be more of an urban builder, but we are also looking at more rural locations as well to try and extend this network further and further. So yeah, we're making really good progress. As you mentioned earlier, we're on target to get to our 8 million homes by 2025. And we're playing our part in these locations here in Cheltenham and Gloucester. In both cases, we're trying to equip about 60,000 premises with full fibre, and we're making quicker progress in Gloucester than we are in Cheltenham, but we are making satisfactory progress in both locations. I would say that people in those locations, they may see us. We may be. It's quite a messy business putting in full fibre. We try to do as much of it as we can without having to trench, with using existing infrastructure if possible. But I would ask people's patience as we work our way through the towns and cities locally, because I realise that we do cause a certain amount of disruption through our activities.
It's one of those things that I suppose you can't do. You can't extend the infrastructure without digging up something. So is there something that people can do if they have an issue with what's going on? Do you have a complaints line or anything?
Yeah, we do have a complaints line. You can find that on the CityFibre website. We will always try to deal with complaints as quickly as possible. We also work very closely with the highways team at Gloucestershire County Council and with the City Council in Gloucester and the Borough Council in Cheltenham to try to let people know in advance when we're coming to their area. We'll do letter drops as well in locations. We work with Kia Utilities, which is our contractor that's actually delivering this network for us in these locations. So we between us, we try to be as sensitive as possible to residents, because I know that nobody really wants their road dug up outside their house, but unfortunately sometimes it needs to be done to get this infrastructure in.
Absolutely, as we say, the saying goes, you can't make an omelette without breaking some eggs. So if we want to be competitive as an economy, then we have to make that investment in terms of the infrastructure, don't we? And I think intuitively people understand that, but you're absolutely right, not when it's digging outside my house.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, absolutely. And we have done some independent research into the potential value that this asset will bring to Cheltenham and Gloucester. So in both cases, we're investing about 30 million in each location. There's about 10 times that, or about 300 million pounds worth of benefits that has been predicted to be brought to these locations over the next 15 years or so. And that's just in direct impacts. That's things like a wider workforce, greater efficiencies, house values, homes go up in value when there's full fibre access. So there's all sorts of ways you can calculate the benefit that this sort of asset will bring to locations. So hopefully people will also understand that as we're working through these towns and cities.
Well, it's quite interesting, isn't it, in terms of that the impact and the value it has on somebody's house having access to full fibre. So that's got to be a real positive, not as well as having the opportunity to connect to it yourself as an individual or a family.
Yeah. I mean, more and more, I think if you're looking for a home, you're going to want a home that's got full fibre connectivity.
Yeah, no, that's a really good message to be putting out there for people, isn't it? In that and as you use that phrase, future proofing going forward. That's also in terms of looking at your own home as well and the opportunity that brings for that. So in terms of so you said that Gloucester and Cheltenham are moving along quite nicely. Is there a reason that Gloucester has kind of moved on quicker, or is it just the volume? Or
it was more to do with a kind of a redesign that we needed to do in the early stages of the Cheltenham project, so it fell a little bit behind.
Right.
We've also had some issues with Kier getting enough resources on the ground to be able to move as swiftly as some of the other cities we're involved in. So, for instance, Swindon, which I also look after, is going much quicker than both Cheltenham and Gloucester. But we're now seeing a good number of resources on the ground, and those projects in Cheltenham and Gloucester are picking up quite quickly. So initially we wanted it to be about a 3-year project. It may extend beyond that slightly, but we're well on track to make sure that we deliver the full 60,000 properties in both locations.
Considering what we've been through in terms of labour supply, a pandemic, you would expect to see some effect on delivery times, wouldn't you, anyway? So as long as we're moving forward now and catching up, that's got to be the positive and the opportunity.
Yes, exactly. And these are very complex projects with a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that we have to get all the work scheduled in combination with the county council, and there are other utilities out there needing road space. So there's lots of moving parts, but we try to move as quickly as we possibly can.
And are there any plans in terms of any other areas in the region to have in the rollout? So we've got Gloucester, Cheltenham, Swindon, Bath.
Yeah, I mean, within this particular region, we're also doing Worcester, which is slightly further north. Obviously, there are smaller pockets around Cheltenham and Gloucester that we may be able to get to once these main city builds come to the end, and those are already on our radar. So it doesn't mean when the city build finishes that we're not going to be able to expand slightly beyond that.
Yeah, so there's more opportunity to connect the whole of the region with full fibre as we go along. Yeah. And in terms of just reiterating sort of the economic benefit, so just to remind people of the opportunity that will bring to them, what are we saying to people in terms of full fibre?
Well, I think, on a kind of a personal level, with the capability you have inside your home, you're able with full fibre to get much faster broadband and much more reliable broadband, often for the same or even lower prices than you're currently paying. So it's not a case of this is something that's going to cost a lot more money. This is something that tends to be on a par or even lower than you're currently paying for much better service. So that's something that should be good news for everybody. Yep. And then wider kind of benefits for a location, as I mentioned, by a factor of 10 of what we're investing over the next 15 years for Cheltenham and Gloucester. So it is good news for these locations. We just have to get through that process of getting this infrastructure so it can connect as many properties as possible, and that's what we're currently doing.
So the message is the opportunity for people to ask their ISPs around full fibre and make sure that they access that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, Neil, thank you very much. And maybe we can have a catch up a little bit later on and just see how things are going across the region and see what that looks like. So
yeah, absolutely.
Neil, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.